Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
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 Okay, good morning, everyone. All of you, please turn on your camera as well.
Morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning. It's already 7 minutes late. We had to start the class. I was waiting, like it didn't until 45 also, right? Okay, so now let's not take so much time on that. So all of you, please refer to page number 82. And we don't have much to review today because yesterday we just did the warming up of the lesson. So today we'll immediately continue with the topic of conflict and its management. Just refer to the book. Okay, I'm telling you to refer to the book. One of the reasons is so that you're not confused from which lesson the teacher is teaching. For that reason also, I often tell you to open the book, at least even if I'm not going line by line from the book also, I will most of the time tell you to open it so that some of the students won't get confused from which lesson what was taught. Okay, like what was the lecture based on, so you can at least relate with that lesson, even if it is like the external resources are like used. Okay, before we begin, our plan is to tentatively like just try to finish most of the lessons in one day. Okay, right now, not all of them, most of them. If not, we will not be able to finish the course on time. Later on, we have to speed up for the other topics itself. Okay, conflict and its management. So I'm sorry for this technical disturbance once again. I don't know what is this time. Most of the time, yesterday also it went at this time. Today also the electricity got closed at this time itself. I really don't know why it's the same timing happening. Okay, the PowerPoint presentation that was made is going to be in vain because of this problem at times. So we have to take a resource itself of the book with the plan B. Please go to page number 82 itself. So we'll just take a reference of the book as well for some time because I have not opened the slide in another itself in laptop. It takes time for me to be opening. So, but I will send you the slide afterwards. Okay, so first of all, we started with what is conflict yesterday. So we had various point of view. We had like different people saying all about those classes of interest, right? So conflict is itself like trying to say what is the disagreement, what is the fight, what is the fight over this. So that's what it's trying to say. And in this case, like of conflict, it's a disagreement. Okay, normally the conflicts are going to happen when you don't agree with someone. Like sometimes you have a different opinion than your friend, then you have a conflict because you don't like what your friend has told. That the opinion that your friend has told is going to be like that is itself is going to give rise to conflict where you will have some misunderstanding or you will not like it because you didn't find it was a mutual interest or whatever it was not mutual thinking that you both were thinking. So that's also when conflict can arise, like your views opinion when it clashes. You have a different thought and your friend says something else, then you have a conflict. Let's say you want to go to one place but your friend wants to go to other place, then you won't like it because that's a different interest. Same in other cases also. Your friend wants is preferring another option, okay, like is preferring let's say itself in terms of like even in office or even in work, like there might be classes of interest and then there might be a conflict. Like you have someone wants to have the program itself in one other day and then you want it in other day, then that also can also give to rise to conflict. So these are the various ways how conflict can be occurring. So we did recall based on last year also like how uh, like what are the different types of conflict as well. So what could be like sometimes there are conflicts based on like we told yesterday also, like there might be conflict based on like when there is a discrimination. When you see there is a discrimination also you can have some conflict. That can be discrimination maybe because of sometimes they might be it might be based on sometimes caste, sometimes gender. Those things also can give rise to conflict. So what more can you think than what we have discussed yesterday and today? What more could be the reasons? Something different than what we discussed yesterday and today.
Miscommunication.
Okay, yeah. So miscommunication. So how can miscommunication lead to conflict? Yes, that's a very good example. Okay, no, that's a very good point. How can it lead to conflict?
Like person A is saying something good about you to person B, but person B is like completely turns it over and says like he said person A said something bad about you to me, something like that.
Yeah. So there will also to some extent yes, conflicts are occurring. So what could be the solution in that case? Although we'll be coming afterwards also. What could be the solution?
Confrontation, like did you say that about me?
Okay, communication. So that's how it can solve it as well, right? So sometimes you can see people can take advantage, like we Sanvito, like someone is going to exaggerate and tell something which somebody has not told. Two of you go together, someone talks something, and then you report in another way, exaggerating, swelling those things, and they try to bring quarrel or fight conflict between them. So that's how it can also occur, right? For in those type of conflict, like of course communication, like you have to ask the person so it is clear as well, and at the same time the person who listens also I think should listen it, okay, like not just trust the other person who has just told. If he hears it of course with evidence, then that's a different case. If not, if they just listen, then that of course is going to bring a conflict. Maybe sometimes it can happen in office also. Those type of conflicts can be occurring, maybe between staff and the management, because somebody in the middle starts exaggerating and telling all nonsense which the person has not told. And the person who listens also has to listen it very carefully, like if it is coming through other persons. Okay, so these are the various type of conflicts also. So other conflict, like yes, in management, I mean to say in office also there will be conflicts going on, right? All these different types of conflicts will be going on. So sometimes people don't agree with some topic, then they also have conflict. So you can go to page number 82 and see that paragraph of father written over there in the second one. So based on that, I'm trying to explain that, okay, so that you're not completely lost. So we are trying to go a little systematically, although the slide I couldn't present it because like all of a sudden it just went. See that page number 82 of whatever is that uh, second dialogue based on father. Okay, so these are the ways how conflicts can be occurring. So based on that, I'm just trying to uh, explain that. Okay, so that's how conflict. So next paragraph. Okay, you can see again the. So what? So we talked yesterday also about the different types of conflict, like the one which we just discussed, like Sanvi told, is based on personal conflict. Some will be based on corporate conflict. Within the corporate organization also conflict can be occurring, because we have been seeing evidence, okay, from the time before 5 6 years itself. I could see that and see how things are going on, okay. Sometimes how someone makes a conflict. So we it's a it's like a office politics, okay. And then next racial conflict based on different caste, okay, different race, okay, that's a racial conflict, that's racism, okay. It's not only in Nepal, it's in US, it's going in different places. It's not just a problem for Nepal. You can see how Trump began his tenure also. Okay, not only that, other times also before that also it was happening. We were aware of that, right? So those type of is not just for Nepal. This some of the time even those developed countries have to some extent. Political conflict we already discussed. Okay, this political conflict is totally based on like Maoist insurgency time, like during that Maoist time when there was a conflict between the government and Maoist. So these are the various types of conflict, and all the causes of this conflict are like what we just discussed before. So can you see that there are the same reasons that we have just discussed. Classes of interest. It's because like we already told, class of Sanvi.
Yes, sir.
Why is your mouth moving? Are you guys talking with each other, or are you going on? Are you on a call with somebody else itself in the class? Or I completely don't understand. Please turn your camera on, and I don't
No,
want to see your
sir.
mouth moving. Okay, sometimes we don't know like whom are you
Sure,
talking
sir.
with. Is it with your family member itself?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but Thing is, like, sometimes I see itself like some of the people moving mouth, and it seems like some of you are you communicating during this time? Please do not do that. Okay. Okay. So no, I just told it finally because I could be seeing that before also with some of them. Okay, I could see the mouth moving, and then maybe it was communicating because you can just mute yourself and talk with each other as well. I know it is possible. Okay, electricity is there. I'll be showing the slide also within some time, but we should not stop the class. Okay, because time is very important. It can be a review, a recall again with the slide after some time. Okay, so the reasons of conflict itself like are because of classes of interest, because interest is not common. The both people don't have that similar interest, right? Most of the time you are friends with those people who have similar interests, isn't it or not? That's one of the things that makes it compatible to be friends at times, right? So most of the time if you have similar type of interest, that's when you itself are friends. If not, you can see if there's a class of interest, and then that's also another reason of having conflict. Others are based on itself like cultural differences, also like also that can give rise to conflict. Culture and social differences that the people don't respect, right? Then that's what it can give rise to conflict when people don't respect the other person's culture or social whatever we say like social factors. Okay, if they don't appreciate, if they don't appreciate, then that's also gives rise to conflict. At the same time, discrimination, when you feel discriminated also, that can give rise to conflict. Like when you see there's a biasness going on, then that also can give rise to conflict. Discrimination is trying to show some type of biasness, that you're not treated equally, right? Of course, like treatment should be equal, but sometimes of course there is reward for those who perform well. And you don't perform well and then you also look for a similar reward, then that's not good, right? So you have to also give your input also equally, not just only look for your right. Okay, you have to do your duty also. So sometimes of course, but if it's directly, the discrimination is coming because someone is saying because you belong to this class, so you are not fit for this position, or you are belonging to this caste, or you belong to this gender, or you belong to this age group. Nothing should be there directly. If it is there, experience is fine, right? So if not, in most of the factor, there should not be discrimination based on either gender, based on either caste, based on either age or anything. Most of the things that it comes, okay. So there should not be directly discrimination, but the thing is maybe in terms of some of the things like between adult and uh, children's group, that's a different case. Okay, but when we are in a post working, then someone tries to take over just because saying the age is this much and that much. That is not the case. Okay, it's of course based on performance also at times, but that's a different case. Sometimes if they feel the age should be this much years, 45 years, and minimum work experience should be let's say working for this many years, then that's a different case. Then you have to fit according to that position. So if not, there should not be discrimination on any basis that can give rise to conflict, either in the office or either within the organization or either in the society. So these are the various types of conflict. So these are the various reasons for conflict. And other is like itself we told, go to that page number 83, first line. Why I'm saying you is that so that you are not completely lost, okay? So that you have at least something to see and understand. So you most of your senses are used, okay? Not only listening. So you can be also just seeing that. So so that you know it's going systematically. Okay? If not, later on you will feel it came all like a khichdi, and then you don't know what to make a sense out of that. Okay, in which part to fit it and where to, was what was taught. So even though we're not going line by line, just systematically we have to at least go. So here the same thing that we discussed before. Okay, receiving wrong information or miscommunication. People exaggerate, people swell, and then they report, and then that also can bring miscommunication between friends. Again, miscommunication between employee and employer to supervisor or anything. You can see how things can happen. And the person who listens, if the person doesn't listen well, then that's when it's a problem for the one who is working also and the one who is a supervisor also, because they might lose good staff or sometimes maybe based on that. So they have to know and identify who is doing this politics, office politics. Okay, like if anything, or whether it be not only there, maybe within the society also. So these are the causes of conflict. Okay, can you think any more examples of conflict? What could be the reason? After some time, I'll show you some more additional also from the slide also. But for now, can you think what is more than this? Because if I ask you before explaining what is in the book, you will just tell me the same thing in the book. So I want you to think something out of the book which is not there now. So it is really like a critical thinking. So it's at least making you think, and you will remember this. Okay, can you think of any more reasons of conflict, causes of conflict? What can give? Just try to remember. Okay, you can give example. You don't have to state exactly. Okay, when you had a last conflict. Okay, before when you had a conflict and what was the cause? You don't have to tell the exact situation, but just you can tell in a general way. What was the cause of that? Just reflect
Some
and
financial problem.
conflict because of financial problem. Okay, you can just elaborate and explain that so that everyone understands what are you trying to also tell.
Maybe like someone is like a family is poor and then they are trying to save money, but then someone buys something that is unnecessary.
Yeah. And what is the reason of that? Do you think the conflict is happening?
Like, don't buy unnecessary things. We are already in crisis, something like that, I guess.
Okay. So it's because the interest is not similar. Can we say that?
Yes,
Because
Maybe,
sir.
I think.
one person's interest is to save the money, another person's interest is live life happily because you don't know when you will die, right? So some people have that thought and they just try to use, and there's a clash of interest. And that can even bring a conflict between partners. Isn't it or not? Like one wants to save, another just wants to spend it uh, to thinking, call 1 hour, right? Yes or no? To some extent, that's also good. Okay, so to some extent, you need savings for life also. You need to enjoy life also to some extent because you don't know what happens, right? So that's another reason. Another somewhat. Okay, yeah, I'm back from I'm back here, Rachel. But can you just tell a little bit of more critical thinking? What when was the last time, like you just give an example when you had conflict with your friend? Okay, conflict in family conflict anywhere, and what was the reason? You don't have to say your own example also. Then I think if you feel like personally like it is offensive for you to tell, then you don't have to tell exactly with that. Then just tell generally. Then
Conflict between a buyer and shopkeeper.
okay, what type of conflict? How the conflict happened? I'm not able to
As
give you any scenarios and find out the cause of that. Okay, because the lesson was made in another way. Yes,
like
can you tell the scenario and how it happened?
like we went to the shop and it was musical shop, I guess, and they were bargaining with each other, and I don't know what happened in middle, and they just started to fight.
Okay, so you just saw those fight going on. Is it because like maybe because of bargaining negotiation going on, right?
Yes, sir, that shopkeeper spoke something wrong, and then buyer also, like, they all started to fight.
Okay, at times some shopkeepers really force people to buy. Yes or no? Once you're there bargaining, then they really force to buy, and the other person that can also give rise, I think, at times.
Sir, I've got an example of that shopkeeper one. So, my father always buys fruits from the shop at Kausaltar, but he does not receive it. But then, in case of emergency, he goes there to buy. And that shopkeeper, he always is like, take all, you can pay later. And when we come home, We check at the top, all the apples are good, but then when we start looking deep inside, then we find nothing. So one day my father went and scolded that shopkeeper.
Okay. So these are the various ways how conflict can be happening, and it's happening as well, right? Okay, so just a very quick review based on what we did so far. The review is because the slide is also here. Let me just show that quickly also. A quick review, then we'll move ahead, okay? At least 1 minute review to just utilize the resource that I have also made. So here you can see, once again, just to recall, okay? These are just flexible ways because sometimes you have to be ready for many plan, A, B, C, right? You don't know what happens at any time. You know, earlier also there was so much load shedding going on. So the teachers have to be always ready with many plans. Okay, so a process which begins when a party receives that of a process which begins when a party receives that another party is frustrating or is about to frustrate the concerned party also, that can also give rise to conflict. Okay, conflict and its management. So the thing is, it's the same, it's a different way of only telling, okay? You will see the slide as different and I told different. It means like the teacher is not repeating. There's so many things to tell, okay? But he has to summarize based on time. So wherever like there are people, there is always a conflict. Like there is a saying, okay, something I cannot whether to tell or not to tell. Okay, but I just remember like एउटै ओछ्यानमा सुतेपछि गोडा लाग्छ or खुट्टा लाग्छ भने जस्तो, like if you're in the same places nearly, then of course one is going to hit each other also. Yes or no? So that's how it can give rise to conflict. Let's say you're both siblings, okay, brother sleeping in the same bed, it can get kicked, another person can get kicked at times, right? So that's a way of also saying, okay? So like you can see conflict there is even between twins, okay? Even if they are twins, both twins also can be fighting. Go that side, right, in the bed, yes or no? Don't touch, doesn't it? Or maybe you can have whatever is that somebody doesn't like being touched, right? During this time, so there's always a conflict going on. So it's natural, and sometimes we have to sometimes learn to use this conflict in a right way also. Okay, sometimes it can be a positive conflict also, it could be a negative conflict also. So the levels of conflict: argument, discussion, debate, disagreement. That's same thing, that's what we discussed, okay? Positive and healthy, okay? These are the various levels of conflict. One is based on argument, first level. You can say another is based on like maybe competition, positive and healthy, or negative and unhealthy. So sometimes conflict can happen because due to competition as well. And warfare is always destructive, okay? First to one, it could be positive also and healthy. Sometimes it could be negative and unhealthy. But warfare, that's another level of conflict. The wars, internationally, what wars are maybe domestic also violence, right? Domestic case also, that's going to be that's always destructive. Okay, so the cause are like the source. So what are the causes? Because of the difference, perceptual difference. Perception is different, right? Your perspective is different. Then that is one of the source or cause of conflict. Difference of need. Sometimes somebody has a need and that need is not been fulfilled by the motivator also, that also can give rise to conflict. Maybe the conflict is between the management and the staff. Sometimes maybe because the need is not been fulfilled, or maybe within the family also, like you need something and then it's not been given, then that also can give rise to conflict. You need some device, you need something, and then that also can give to conflict. Yes or no? You can take it in various perspective. And the way of thinking is not flexible, okay? Not appreciating others views, okay? You never appreciate, okay? So if you really want to earn enemy quickly, it's of course if you keep on like this like opposing, of course that will quickly earn enemy, doesn't it or not? And at times you have to, of course, if you don't like also, you have to tell yes and okay, just to solve that, rather than fighting and rather than discussing over, right? Just accept it. So problem in communication and problem in behavior, these are the various sources or whatever we say sources, but you can understand as causes of conflict. And others are like personality traits because of jealousy, greedy, intolerance, okay, lost for power. Sometimes there's a power struggle, power competition that also can be giving rise cold war. One is trying to take over the position, other is also with the same competition, right? That also can give rise to conflict. So various ways of various reasons of having conflict. Cultural and value difference, we discussed. Improper work policy, right? Maybe because in conflict can happen because the manager is also not competent, whoever is leading, that also can give rise to conflict. Okay, so there are various ways. So conflict management is also very important, whether it be any organization you're working, or we're working in terms of any NGOs or INGOs with the society. Also, you need to be managing the conflict. Role incompatibility, environmental stress also can be giving conflict. Okay, competition for various resources, competition for the resource also can give conflict, because resource conflict because of that. Okay, and unfairness, evenness, and inequality of personal and professional treatment, that the treatment is not like proper, it looks biased, then of course it's going to cause a conflict. You feel like teacher is biased, then you can have a conflict with the teacher. Sometimes your perception might be wrong. Okay, sometimes you have to know, sometimes people has to be sometimes rewarded a bit more when the person has done well. But if you just see the teacher is favoring for no reason, then that could be a reason, right? If not, like, of course there are some ways of rewarding. And then how to motivate people, has to motivate, whether it be class, whether it be office. And then you don't perform well and you say that you are not getting that, or you're discriminating, that's also not fair. So but discrimination directly, just based on either gender, caste, or anything, that should not be there. Performance is always there, like performance appraisal has to be always there. Okay, so these are the various way, and there are various views of conflict. Okay, conflict is bad. Okay, and only bad people conflict. So this is the traditional way of thinking, that the conflict is bad and only bad people conflict, means only those people who are not good, they have a conflict. Sometimes this one particular student may be always having a problem or conflict, then that is a way how sometimes teacher can think maybe that person is itself only a problem at times, right? Yes or no? So this is the traditional view, and that view is correct. You still now you have to agree with that view. It's not that traditional views are totally wrong. It's very contradicting, okay, because it's so difficult. That's why the view was so popular. It's trying to say only the bad people are having conflict. All conflicts are harmful and they must be avoided. That's what's the conflict, that you should always avoid conflict. Okay, so this is how we have been also learning, and that's what we have been also doing, because that itself is a traditional view. And I'm not trying to say traditional views are all wrong there. Okay, some of the traditional things itself is correct. Okay, it's itself correct, and it's very difficult to debate over that. If it's already accepted, means it's a very difficult point to debate. Okay, it's not so easy to debate on that topic. So the modern view, so between the human relations approach, is that conflict is neither good nor bad. It is natural part of life. If used properly, it can also give good results. Sometimes that conflict can be used in a better way, might be by the management or anyone. Okay, if the person can really use it, it can be used in a better way as well. So this is the modern view of conflict. So types, intrapersonal, like intrapersonal among yourself also, there can be a conflict. Interpersonal, between each other. Okay, between intergroup, between two groups also there could be a conflict, between two states, or between two nations, or whatever is that, between two like two, let's say caste groups also there could be a conflict, right? Or any, not only two, anything, not only two, there could be more. Those are the ways of having conflict. So even in organization there can be conflict. So these are the various ways if you have to think about conflict. So now we're in conflict management. Now can you see that book page number 83 itself? Next now, so that was a quick review. So conflict management, what is conflict management now? We've already told yesterday also. right? So it's talking about itself managing those conflict. How do you manage those conflict? How do you solve those conflict? Okay, how can you find a solution to this type of conflict? How can you manage conflict? One of the simple way we have already told also. So this is trying to say the way to identify and handle those conflicts, okay, sensibly, fairly, and efficiently, so that conflict can be solved. I told you conflict will be happening. It has to be solved either in school level or organization level. Okay, anywhere you can be saying that conflict is of course going on. It is part of life. Okay, it is natural. So you should not just run away from that saying the conflict happened and you just run away, just avoid it. That's also not a way of solving your problem. Let's say I'm having conflict in this school with these certain students. Maybe let's go to another. That is not going to be a solution every time. It has to be like you have to be able to solve it. I'm just trying to say with your peers itself also. Next also, it can happen the same if you don't know how to solve it, right? So these are the ways how conflicts can be happening. Like you move because there is an upgrade in you, because there is a promotion. That's a different case. Yes or no? You find that is going to really may like that's a motivation factor for you because you were getting a promotion in terms of either position, pay. There are different ways of motivation, right? Then sometimes people often move, and you can see people moving even if they are in higher position because their motivation is met. So you have to find a solution, okay? But if the reason is because of conflict and you're running away, that's a different case. So these are the ways of conflict management. Like you can use those conflict for positive results, okay, or at least prevent so that there's not much harm. So this is one of the way of conflict management. So either you have to either prevent them so that there's not much harm out of the conflict, or you can use those conflict to some extent for positive results as well. So positive means like there will be a feeling of competition. Positive results, isn't that going to be a positive result for the organization? If the conflict is happening for power position, then there is going to be a competition among each other, and that can bring better results, better outcomes. So that's how it can be taken positively. There's a conflict between each other because you want to get better grade from than other person. Of course, indirectly it's going to help you also. Indirectly it's going to help maybe the school also to so that the education is good, right? You are motivated itself within among yourself itself. There's no more of any external motivation need to be given, like no need of extrinsic motivation, intrinsic from internal itself coming, right? Internal motivation. So that is of course going to give good results and better outcomes. Negative is that it is sometimes just going to give stress, okay, struggle, strike, okay, if we are like physical and verbal abuse, this type of thing, then it's a negative. So these things, if it is shown directly, then these things can be told negative. So these things are not positive. Okay. So this type of conflict is not positive now. That you are fighting, someone is saying someone nerd there, what is writing there among each other. Just trying to say, okay. Someone says something else, okay. Or whatever I'm just trying to say, okay. So, but that is just might be giving, that's a verbal, right? So this is itself like we can say that as a negative. So this type of conflict, I'm not trying to say it's a positive one. Okay, so the ways of managing conflicts are itself like you can see you have to be able to identify and analyze the conflict situation. You have to know the symptoms of that. You have to analyze them. Sometimes maybe between two people, if it's not possible, then you need a person who is a mediator to mediate that. If it's between two students, then maybe sometimes you need a teacher now, right? Just to mediate and just try to come out with a conclusion so that there is no more conflict. Even during government, you saw there was a mediator to mediate. Maoist and the government was running there, right? At that time, Giriza Prasad Koirala was the leader of Congress who brought and at least brought Maoist to peace process so that they would not be having any more violence or anything. They would not be continuing, so that they would come to the they would be coming to the like itself through election, and they did very well, that they got very good votes in the first election. People had a very high expectation thinking they are really trying to do something, but they must have tried, but however it has not like they have not still been able to show. Maybe the reason is because other oppositions are still making it difficult to for them to show their work, like it happens. Okay, so other thing is itself like the mediator itself can be coming with good solutions, right? Coming with a reasonable solution for both the parties, where both parties are coming in win-win situation, where both, like, not one is in a lose situation or one has to compromise. Then also there's a problem. Okay, both thing, okay, both feel they are getting win-win situation, then that can also uh, bring solution to conflict. So you have to find the root cause of the conflict, okay, and all those things, and that's how it can be also managed. So sometimes it has to be through communication. You have to have dialogue. Okay, you often heard Barta, right? Barta, when Maoist and those government had to. So that's a dialogue. So dialogue also really plays an important role. That's itself a form of communication. That you're communicating what are your agendas, what are the outcomes that you want. Okay, what are the things that you expect whenever there is a conflict. Sometimes conflict can be happening within an organization. There's a union formed by the employees with the employer, then they have to sit for dialogue to mediate them. Often, like, they might have several agendas, right? So that can be also possible through dialogue. So where both of the parties come with a certain negotiation. Itself like diplomacy in international understanding. Diplomacy is itself also trying to do the conflict management when there's a conflict. So that's where you can use. So here, conflict resolution technique, like, of course, like sometimes it can be a compromise. Okay, so both, if it is win-win situation, is going to come uh, itself like when both the parties feel it's a win situation. So here you can see first one is lose-lose, avoidance. First one, like it's trying to say this first one here, the mouse is not showing there. Okay, you can see that left one, I was trying to point that is showing something. Okay, this is itself lose-lose situation for both, that you ignore the situation. And next is competing. Okay, that's a win-lose situation. The one at the left side, that's a win-lose situation. One is in a win situation, another is in a lose situation. And next one you can see lose-lose, that's compromise. Both are in, like, sometimes maybe lose-lose situation. And finally, a win-win situation, collaboration, where they both work together. So these are the ways of managing conflict in which both are in a win situation itself. So we don't need to know that so much in detail, but we have to understand it has to be both win-win situation. Is that clear? And this thing is itself there in your book. What is win-win situation? In which both the parties are in a win situation. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, bye.
Bye
Let's go.
bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye bye. Bye. Bye.